In 1974, satanic cult leader and convicted child murderer Bob Holder was buried after facing the electric chair. 2 years later, families of the deceased decided to dig up his grave to decimate his body. All they found was a collection of books. Sit back and relax, if you can, as we read from the Exhumed chapters.
Good evening, and welcome to the Exhumed chapters, a place where we explore all that is creepy and strange, and that which goes bump in the night. This week I've managed to dig up a terrifying tale of a demonic encounter in a rural cemetery. So without further ado, let's dig in. I've never really visited this sub before, but I wanted to share this story with someone. I really can't find a reasonable explanation for what happened that night. I tend to be a bit of a skeptic in general, though I'm sure many people say that. And it was such a strange and alarming experience. This happened a couple months ago. My friend had heard that the northern lights might be visible in our area, and asked if I wanted to go for a drive out into the country to see if we could catch a glimpse. So we headed out after dark and drove for a good few hours, just searching for a good vantage point. After a while, we started to give up on seeing the lights. My friend realized that we were close to her hometown and noted that she had been wanting to visit the local cemetery to find the graves of some of her distant relatives. She had recently been researching her genealogy. It was a clear, warm night, and we were both a little disappointed that we hadn't seen the lights. We agreed we wanted to make the trip worthwhile, so we agreed to swing by the cemetery. We found the graves, took some photos, and just wandered around for a little while. I had been feeling increasingly anxious since we arrived, which struck me as odd. I have done several cemetery seriation projects as an archaeologist, and don't normally feel nervous in cemeteries, even at night. In fact, I usually find that cemeteries are pretty peaceful and calming. But I felt really strange in that cemetery and found myself frequently spinning around because I felt like someone was standing behind me. Still, I just chalked it up to casual anxiety and tried not to dwell on it. One of the problems with having an anxiety disorder is that sometimes it's hard to tell when your nervousness is justified. Even in retrospect, I don't know if my anxiety was just in my head or if it was related to what would happen next. After wandering for a while, we realized that it was approaching 1 a.m. and that we should probably get back home. We headed towards the car. The car was in sight, and my friend was just a few yards ahead of me when it happened. I suddenly got that nervous feeling again and thought that I heard someone running up behind me. I was starting to turn my head to look back when I felt something collide with my back, right between my shoulder blades. There was a weight behind it, as if someone had actually hurtled into me. The impact was so forceful that I was thrown forward and fell flat on my face. And as I scrambled to get back up, I felt the weight hitting me in the shoulders again, and was shoved back down. I glanced up to see my friend running towards me. She had also heard someone running up to us, had heard my initial fall, and had turned just in time to see me being pushed back down. She would later tell me that she had seen my hoodie flatten against my back and shifting, as if someone had been pressing their hands on my shoulders. She grabbed my arm to pull me up. The weight disappeared and we both bolted to the car. We jumped in and locked the doors. She immediately peeled out and we sped away from the cemetery. We drove for several minutes without saying a word. I think we were both stunned and, more than anything, confused. She finally glanced at me and said,
"What the hell just happened?"
I didn't quite know how to answer that. I told her that something had shoved me down to the ground. She said,
"I know. I saw that. But what was that? There was nobody there."
We tried to come up with a rational explanation, but none of them had made any sense. Had someone ambushed me and then bolted? Definitely not. We would have seen them. Had I tripped? No, I had definitely felt something pushing me, and my friend had seen me being shoved back down. Had it been the wind? Not possible. There hadn't been so much as a breeze that night. And if there had been some freak gust of wind, it would have hit my friend too. We just couldn't explain it. Neither of us had seen anything there. Whatever had pushed me twice, it hadn't been visible. As the adrenaline faded, I noticed something else. My back hurt, right between my shoulder blades, right where I had felt the impact. I could feel a sort of stinging, prickly sensation. It felt like my back had been brushed with stinging nettles. I mentioned this to my friend, and she insisted on pulling over to look at my back. She switched the hood light on and pulled the collar of my hoodie down to look, and I heard her mutter,
What the fuck?
She took a photo of my back and showed it to me. The skin between my shoulder blades was reddened, and several little blisters had started to appear. They later swelled up and popped. It was as if I had gotten a sunburn or a chemical burn. There weren't any scratches or anything. It was a subtle mark, but it was clearly there. We couldn't explain how I gotten burned. I hadn't touched my back. I hadn't rubbed against anything, and it hurt. It continued to sting for several days. You can see the photo here. I couldn't sleep that night. My back hurt, and every time I started to drift off, I'd suddenly sense that someone was standing over my shoulder, and I would startle awake. I couldn't really understand what had happened at the cemetery, but it rattled me. I don't know if I believe in ghosts or demons, to be honest, but I know that something truly bizarre and frightening happened to me that night. It's been really difficult to come to terms with this. I already have PTSD from an actual assault, and there's something deeply unsettling about the fact that, in this instance, there was nothing I could have done to defend myself. It has been a major setback in my recovery from my previous trauma. I've had several odd nightmares since then, dreams that are all similar to nightmares that I used to have as a kid. I don't know why, but for as long as I can remember, I've had dreams in which a creature is attempting to lure/woo me in one way or another, and in the dream, I usually understand this creature to be a devil or a demon. Sometimes it takes the form of an old woman. I had one dream when I was about 13 years old in which I was wandering through a forest. I came across a little cottage with the old woman standing by the porch. She beckoned me inside and I acquiesced. We spent time casually talking and baking cookies, but I felt uneasy around her and got the sense that she wanted something from me. At one point I glanced out the window and noticed a group of people standing in the yard, calling out to the old woman. I asked who these people were, and I vividly remember what she told me.
They want me to take them in, but I don't want them. I want you.
In other dreams, it had a more sinister appearance, but I always recognize it as the same creature. I sometimes have dreams in which it is sitting in the dark at my bedside, whispering to me. It has a shadowy appearance with long, lanky limbs and empty eye sockets. Its teeth are made of razor wire, and there's something like blood or wine gleaming on its lips, like this. In those dreams, I can hear it whispering, but can't understand what it is saying. Sometimes I have dreams of the same creature sitting in a chair in the corner of my room, eating a rotten apple. I know these are just dreams, but I mention it because those dreams have subsided in my early 20s, but the incident at the cemetery rattled me so much that they have returned. It seems to have shaken my understanding of the world around me. In these new dreams, this creature is standing upright behind me at the cemetery. Time is standing still. I can see my friend frozen ahead of me, and the creature is whispering at my back. I don't know why my mind is conflating that creature with my encounter at the cemetery. Anyway, I just wanted to share this because I have no idea what the fuck happened that night. My friend believes it was a ghost, but I don't know. My specialty as an anthropologist/archaeologist is in religion and folklore, but I've never personally experienced anything like this. I really don't know what to do with it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you had as much fun watching this as we had putting it together. Big thanks to my beautiful partner, Creed, for doing all the camera work. As well, a big thanks to Blade666 for the intro voiceover. You can find him on Twitch at twitch.tv/Blade666. As well, a big thank you to Phantom Effects for some of the lighting effects they've provided, as well as CricketSong over on Reddit for allowing us to use her story. Make sure you check out her profile. She has some amazing artwork up there as well. If you liked what you saw, you know what to do over there. And once again, thank you so much. We will see you next time.